Yes, yes, yes. It is the Castworthy podcast, and we are back at you. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined today by the VP. He's back after a 2-week hiatus. EJ is MIA. Not sure. I know he is relationshiped up right now. He doesn't realize that cuffing season ended in April. So I suspect that's where he is right now, laid up, loved up, playing footsies or something under the covers. So right now it's just a 2-man gang. Fast break. We're here for you. And it's Sunday, June 26th, a couple days after a few women lost their rights. And we're here to talk about some things. So VP, first of all, welcome back, man. What's good with you?
What's up, man? Good morning. Hanging in there. It's a dark day, sad day, morning in America.
Yeah. So you've been on the road. You took the show on the road for the last couple of weeks. Where were you the first week?
He had state tournament, so we were in Sarasota, Florida, for the weekend, which was it was an experience. Like we for us, we always got to look for a handicap accessible room, and like everything was basically booked up, and so we ended up having to stay at a Days Inn. And I'd actually never stayed at a Days Inn before, so I didn't realize that Days Inns are like motels. They're not like
That's exactly what they are,
right? So, like I've seen some that are like motels, but I just thought like, okay, maybe it's like some are motels and some are actual like hotels. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so we get there, and they put us in the handicap accessible room, and we go in the room, and the way that the room is set up, like I only can get in the room like in my wheelchair. Like once I got in the room, I couldn't go beyond like the door because there was like this dresser in between the bed and the wall basically.
Yeah.
And so like if I had to go to the bathroom, I couldn't go there. And so they were like, all right, let's try to find you a different room or whatever. So they had another room that was accessible, but somebody was in it. And then it just so happened, like while we're at the front counter, like trying to get the shit figured out, the dude who they had like just booked the room to came out to like ask for something from the front desk. And they were like, hey, we're gonna have to ask you to move, whatever. And he was like, all right, So he moved, and they went in and like cleaned the room, and then they had to rearrange it because even that room wasn't really accessible like that. So they like rearranged the furniture basically to make it work. And we were only there for one night, so it wasn't like a huge deal. So we did the one night and pieced out or whatever. So that was, like I said, it was kind of an experience within itself.
You should have just stayed at a fucking bed and breakfast or something, or hostel. Like the Days Inn, man, like it's nothing more than a Motel 6.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like.
When I think of the Days Inn, like when they pop up when I'm trying to book a hotel or something, I think of like The Fugitive, like the movies where motherfuckers hold up after they didn't killed somebody or some shit. Yeah. That's what I think of. So I'll be trying not to stay in those spots.
And then the police got called out there like multiple times, like while we were there waiting for the people to do the room so we can get in there. A lady, I think she was like either had dementia or was like early onset. And she was like, I can't find my daughter, so they called the police to like deal with her. And then later on, the police got called for something else. So what I'm like, I'm glad we were in here one night because shit.
Yeah. So, but I heard Sarasota was I heard it was like upscale though. Like
not where we were. and it could just be where we were at, but I didn't.
It's like Miami when you cross the bridge.
It seems like it's like that, like depending on where you are, So,
gotcha.
But yeah,
as I go through these different cities in Florida, I see that they're just as bad as like the hood up north and shit. Mm-hmm. It's just the redneck version. It's the redneck versions of Detroit and Chicago and shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
You expect it to be, a little bit nicer, but it's not. you know. Yeah, and then you was out in Louisville, so you just basically spent the better part of your last 2 weeks in redneck town or in Trump countries.
Yeah, basically, man. Louisville was it was kind of interesting, man. It was that whole trip was just ups and downs, man. Like, going, we had to fly there. And so I'm just dreading the airport process because remember last year, those trips, it was some problem. Basically, the problem seems like it's the Orlando airport. Once I get to the destination, like getting me off the plane and stuff, like it seems to go fairly smooth. It's only Orlando that there's a problem. So we get there and we're worried about like the transfer assist or whatever. And just like last year, they didn't have anybody there to help me out. It's the gate agent. And coincidentally, it was the same chick from last year. I remember her face.
Oh shit.
So her and my son basically helped me out of the chair onto the aisle chair to put me on the plane. It didn't go as terrible as it did last year, but they should have had it. They shouldn't have her doing that shit. But so we fly there, no problem. We get there and the gate agent again who's helping, but this time it's like this big ass dude. Look like he probably goes in competition or something, like muscle bound as hell. And even the flight attendant was like, it was like an older white lady. She was like, "Oh, they sent a big guy," and he was like, "Oh no, I rented these." He's like, "I gotta take them back on Monday," So, but so him and my son again, they got me off. Boom, no problem. So we get
what
there.
Airline did you take?
We took Southwest.
Okay.
And so we get there and we're waiting in line to get our rental car. There's a long ass line, and we're like, "Hey, is this the line for Avis?" And the lady is like, "Nah, this is the line for budget." So we're like, oh, "Okay." So we get in the next line thinking it's for Avis. We get up to the front, and the line that we're in is like the preferred member line. So they won't see us when we get to the front. And it turns out the line the lady says for budget is for like budget and Avis. It's just that she's standing in line for budget. And we're, you know what I mean? So
why'd you ask a normal person?
Right. And I'm pretty sure you're gonna ask. Yes, she was black. So
surprise.
We get
this budget right here.
We get back in line, and now we're like 5 people behind her. We would have been behind her. So now we're further back in the line, So we finally, get to the front, get our rental car, and we prepay for the gas. And that was a huge fucking mistake. I usually never prepay for gas, but the only reason I did was because on the flight back, we had a 6 a.m. flight. And so we were like, let's just prepay for the gas. That way we can just drop this car off and fucking leave. We don't got to worry about no last minute gas stops or trying to find a gas station and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what we didn't know was that we leave the airport. He had practice on the same day we flew in and went straight to practice. They get an hour and a half practice session to practice on the pattern, right? So we basically left the airport and went straight to the bowling alley. Airport is literally right outside of the fucking or the bowling alleys right outside of the airport. Mm-hmm. Like a 3-minute drive. You get off the airport property, you go like 2 lights, boom, there's a bowling alley.
Right.
Hotel, 15-minute drive from the bowling alley. And so like everything was like right there. So that whole 4 or 5 days we were there, we took it back with just over half a tank of gas. And they still charge you for the full tank, even if you don't bring it back, So I was pissed, man. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, and then on the flight back, I thought I was gonna be on a Facebook or Warstar video or some shit because we had one of those people on our plane. This lady gets on with her fucking dog, and the people are telling her you got to put the dog under the seat. She got the dog like on a seat, basically. They're like, you got to put the dog under the seat. And she's like, I'm just checking on him to make sure he's okay. And the guy's like, that's fine, but he has to be under the seat. And so she puts the dog under the seat, and the dude comes back to the front, the flight attendant, and the gate agent is still on the plane. They haven't closed the door yet. And the gate agent is like, I told her that when she first was getting ready to board that she got to put on the seat. So then a couple minutes go by, we still haven't left the gate yet. Now the female flight attendant's like, "Hey, ma'am, that dog has to be under the seat." She's like, "I'm just checking on him, da da da,"
He's
And
nervous.
so she comes to the front, and he's like, "Hey," he was like, "if we got to tell this lady one more time to put this damn dog away, like she's not gonna fly, And so they let her know, like, "Hey, we got to tell you again to put this dog away. You're not flying or whatever." So she put the dogs under the seat. So now they done close the gate. We're taxiing for takeoff and shit. She done pulled the fucking dog out again. So now, the next flight attendant tells the lady she got to put the dog away, and the dude is like, the flight attendant guy is basically like, he's fed up with this shit. He tells her, like, "Yo, either put the dog away or we're going back to the gate to fuck, and you're getting off. You're not flying." And so now everybody on the plane is kind of like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Like. So
now you're interrupting my time.
Right. Because I mean, mind you, 6 a.m. flight, everything is on time, basically. We're looking for an on time, departure, arrival, and shit like that. And if we got to go back to the gate, they got to pull back up to the gate, get the gate hooked up to the plane. She ain't gonna just get off voluntarily. So now you got to wait for the cops to come and all this, you know what I mean? So it's not like that shit's gonna be like a quick, orderly transition. We'll probably be in the fucking airport like another hour before we
more,
get yeah. So everybody's kind of like, "Yo, what the fuck, man?" And so she puts the dog away, and then she goes on the how people, "I'm never flying on this airline again, and I should call my lawyer," and blah 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 blah. And it's like, bitch, please, like so,
over a dog.
Come
on, bitch. Like,
and before you ask, yes, she was.
Shocker. Oh man, dude, you never have just like easy peasy get on the plane and go. I think what happens is probably you get to the airport and they call the other side and they're like, "Yo, I just went through it. Y'all better make sure y'all prepared when he gets here." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
That's got to be what it is. But
and that's what happened on the first flight. Actually, the very first time last year, they struggled getting me on the plane, and the flight attendant was like, she told the gate agent, like, "Yo, you need to call Ohio and tell them to have men waiting for like 3 guys." She was like, "This is unfair to us, unfair to him, like da da da." Like she like basically was just like going in for me, And then when we pulled up to the airport in Columbus, Ohio, they had 3 firefighters waiting. And I mean, the whole getting me off the plane, I mean, that shit was easy. Like, the dude came in and he's like, "Yo, can you stand at all?" I'm like, "No." He was like, "What about this with your arms?" I was like, "Oh, I can't do this." He's like, "No, I'm not asking you to do anything." He's like, I just want to know what I'm working with." And I was like, "Okay, I can't do this. I can't do that." He was like, "All right, I got you." And then the firefighters basically got on me. And the one dude is like, "Hey, Steve, you call it." And he was like, "All right, 1, 2, 3, lift." Boom, I'm in the air on the aisle chair. They rolled me out. 1, 2, 3, lift. Boom, I'm off the aisle chair in my wheelchair. Done. Just like that, So, but I think you're absolutely right. I think that may be what's happening, is that they're calling the other side like, "Yo, we went through it, so make sure y'all ready, because this motherfucker gonna be a problem." So,
yeah, you better than me, man. I'd have been like, "Oh, oh, I feel it. It's your fault. Now I can't move my legs at all." I'm trying to get paid. Southwest my ass, man. What else is going on? You had some other life-changing event take place.
oh, and actually before that, like while in Louisville, man, we went to that spot EJ recommended, Merle's, the chicken spot.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it was outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding, man. Like it's like a fried chicken joint. And fried chicken, good as hell. TJ had a burger. He loved it. I mean, he loves burgers, but it's one of those places where he got like a bacon cheeseburger, but it's one of those spots where like they make their own bacon. Like they actually have bacon like as a dish where you can order like a big ass piece of bacon, but like for the cheeseburger, they make their own bacon. They probably get the beef local, probably make their own buns and all that kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those kind of spots. And I had the fried chicken, which was awesome. the mashed potatoes, which Jesus, man, the mashed potatoes are so fucking good, man. And then also had cornbread. And you know, at most places when you get cornbread, they kind of like you get like a biscuit. You know what I mean, like a cornbread
Yeah.
biscuit. Like this place, you get like a tin of cornbread. It's like an 8-inch cornbread.
Mm.
And like we didn't know that because we both ordered cornbread, and we're like, shit, we knew that we just got one, because it's
Right.
just a big ass cornbread, and that shit was delicious. And um, the one good thing about that weekend was that we actually got that food for free. So it was like it's a spot that's like super busy, hard to park, and you go inside, it's busy as hell. And so we think that the lady who took the orders must have got the credit cards mixed up because she took our card, gave us a receipt. So, but our card was never charged. So,
Shit. Can't beat that.
yeah,
So it don't matter how many cornbreads you ordered.
right.
I wouldn't expect that from EJ. Doesn't he strikes me as the type that would send you to like a hole in the wall with fucking where they sell fried chicken, but they also got canned beer. And they don't put it in the glass. Like, oh, you want a can here, man? You good?
Yeah, that shit, man. It was good, man. It was really I was impressed. And the thing too, like I'm really like when people, how like sometimes you get fried chicken and it's like overly greasy. Like it wasn't even like that. It was fried, but it also wasn't super greasy either. So it seemed like I should have knew the cornbread was gonna be fire because the cornbread, it's not even just cornbread. They call it Mary Lou's cornbread. And I'm like, you can't have a cornbread called Mary Lou's and the shit be terrible. So
the food in the South just seems to be so good. And I think it's just they use like, and I know when I was in New Orleans at least, like the overwhelming amount of butter that they put in everything. Like you can taste the butter in like every bite that you take, and I think
yeah.
partially I think that's just a Southern thing. And
Yeah.
because Paula Dean, racist as she is, she was always known for that. Like she always would talk
Yeah.
about, you got to add more booter. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like to everything. And I think that's where it just gets so rich and delicious. Obviously,
Yeah.
shit's fucking great.
You kind of remind me of Guy Fieri, the on Food Network, on his
Yeah.
one show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Like when he be in Southern restaurants, sometimes they be using the butter. He be like, looks like they're just using copious amounts of butter here.
That's what it is, man. Like when you, especially if you, depending on what you're cooking, like especially if you throw it on like a cast iron joint and
Mhm.
it just sits there, so it doesn't, like it's just sitting there, and once you finally put whatever in, it soaks all that shit into it. Versus it kind of seems like when it's like a regular pan, like cellophane or whatever, the butter kind of dries up. But in
Yeah.
the cast iron, that motherfucker just be there. Man, listen, that shit crazy, yo. That
Yeah.
shit crazy. Sounds like I need to make a trip to Louisville because I do hear a lot of good stuff about the food there. I hear a lot of good stuff about Louisville in general. So I probably have to make a stop there. We actually have an office there, so maybe I can see if I could get a little trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And then in other news, man, we actually we just closed on a house. So we're officially homeowners now.
Nice.
It don't feel that
Excellent.
way though. So because we haven't moved in yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out that we got to get a renovation done to make the bathroom work.
Mhm.
And like we've met with one contractor already and got a quote, and we're going to meet another one on Tuesday. And so we're gonna kind of just, I guess, look at those two and just pull the trigger on whichever one kind of has the best option as far as price is concerned.
Right.
But they say both. One we talked to like originally before we bought the house, but he was like he couldn't give us like a real true estimate until he can kind of go in there. And so once we close, he's going to come over on Tuesday and actually give us a hard number, and then we'll make a choice or whatever at that point.
Good. And you can start moving stuff slowly since you're not fucking rushing in.
Yeah.
Like when we bought, and we got the keys that day, and we came straight from the title company to the door. Like, you know what I'm saying? Pop this shit open, take a look. Okay, it's still clean in here. Started fucking moving light shit in and stuff. And
Mm.
but we there was stuff we had to do. Obviously, there's always something you got to do. It's rare that you get something that's turnkey and perfect. Like it'll be
Right.
turnkey where you can move in, but you're always gonna find something. Like when we moved in, it was fucking, you know, this bitch the people that lived here had like a bright pink carpet, like pink/purple carpet throughout the whole house, right? Then like the pool deck was pink. The tiles in the pool were pink. The tiles in the living or in the bathrooms were pink. The fucking everything was pink, 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 pink everywhere you go in the house, right? And then you know, we we circled back with our realtor and we're like, man, we didn't realize how much pink it was. You know, when you were doing your walkthrough, you see stuff, but you're looking for the red flags, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a color, something easily fixed is not a red flag, you know? So um but it turned out, you know, when he was talking to their realtor, that the lady was a breast cancer survivor or something.
Ah,
So yeah, so every like when I tell you everything, dog, pink. I'm the vertical blinds on the fucking sliding door were
damn.
pink. Like everything in this house was pink when we moved in. So, but but yeah, man, congratulations,
Appreciate it.
you know, hopefully, and I think you already confirmed that you got in before the rate hike, so that's a good thing
Yeah. For the most
because
part, we had already started talking to the mortgage people, but we hadn't locked in yet. And
gotcha.
so we actually could have got a lower rate than we got what we locked in after they did one of the rate hikes already. So you don't got the best interest rate, but you know, it's not it's definitely not what it is now. I think they're like 5.8 or something like that now. So
Yo, they high, dog. Like
yeah.
I was looking, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I was like, well, you know what, maybe and obviously the rate's going up is likely the reason why we're seeing more inventory and shit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's clear. So I was like, well, you're starting to see some shit. Let me see what's out there. Let me get on the bank website, see what the rates look like and shit like that. 5.6, 5.7. I'm like, God damn. And it's bad because I just refied last year when
Mhm.
shit was low. And I think my shit like 1.7. Like this
Damn.
shit, yeah, this shit is crazy. So and when we bought originally, we were at like 6.25. So we cut off 5%.
Yeah.
It's
That's
hard
huge.
for me to go back up to a five. I was looking at a house, right? And I was just like, let me do some calculations and shit. And basically with that rate, and obviously you hope that over the years it drops again, you refi, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
um, the total payment, you know how you can see the total, it's an
Yeah.
extra 300 grand on top of the fucking what you finance at that 5% rate. I'm like, man. And clearly, right, obviously pushing it out 30 years, the goal or the plan is to not have to do it for the full 30, figure it
Right.
out. It's kind of, but just looking at it, I was like, damn, man, these rates, this shit's gonna hurt. Shit definitely gonna hurt. It's gonna make it, listen, it's gonna make it where people who didn't take advantage of the low rates last year that decided, let me just save this money, I'll wait until these prices are higher, because that's the other thing that people don't understand. Like, the prices are high, prices of homes are high, and they may come down now, but you're still gonna pay what you would have paid last year or the year before when they were much higher
Mhm.
in totality, because of the rate that you're paying, the interest rate.
Right.
So um people are like, oh, just wait, hold it another 6 months or a year. Not if these rates keep spiking. Yeah,
Mhm.
the ticket price is going to be light, but your end payment is going to be just as much. So
Yeah.
unless, obviously it benefits people that are cash buyers, right? But to wait for it to come down some. But if you finance it, if you're a normal American every day, then you know you
Right.
got
Most people are gonna finance. So
right. So, but yeah, man, congratulations, man.
appreciate it.
hopefully, you get everything situated with the reno and you guys get in there pretty quickly. Nothing like fucking driving up to, your own spot and kind of just feeling like this is what the fuck I worked for all my life and shit. At the end of a long day or whatever the fuck it is, like you pop up like, all right, at least I got something to call my own. When the fucking cards is bad, you just got dealt that hand with one spade and a bunch of and no face cards and shit. You drive home and you're like, all right, well, I could at least make a book over here, the 9 of hearts walked or some shit. Like that's that's that feeling that you get. So yeah, man, congratulations to y'all.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
What you been watching, man? We missed bingeables last week. I know you've been on the road a bit, and I really haven't had much time to watch a lot of stuff. So this will probably be a quick segment. But you've been watching anything new besides your norms?
Normal stuff. Man Who Fell to Earth. I looked online. It's only 10 episodes. So last week was episode 8. It's really like picked up now. It's starting to get to like the big like action of the series. So I can't wait for tonight and then next week for the finale. Also I checked out Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus. I wasn't super impressed, but it was good. Overall it was good, but there was some stuff didn't make sense.
I'm
and
black.
Then what'd you say?
I'm black, so
oh
nah. But with that one, before you go to the next, do you have to? So with these, are they like Marvel, where you don't have to know the Star Wars story to watch? Like, can I turn that on and enjoy it, or like because I don't know the characters, it's gonna be like, oh, what the fuck is this?
You can turn it on. I feel like you can watch it without having to see the entire like Star Wars series. Like based on like it's based on Obi-Wan Kenobi like after episode 3 of Star Wars. So really you really only would have needed to watch like up to episode 3 if you felt like you needed to watch Star Wars for the stuff that happens in the Obi-Wan Kenobi, because the events in this episode take place between episodes 3 and 4 of the series takes place between episodes 3 and 4 of the Star Wars movies. But they give you before the first episode, they give you like a 6-minute like recap of like what happened over episodes 1, 2, and 3 that lead up to the events of the series. I feel like they give you enough information to kind of get it without having to watch, but obviously you would know more if you watched it.
Okay. What else?
Yeah. But and then I also checked out what's the name of that movie? Jurassic Park. There you go. Jurassic Park
the
Dominion.
new one?
Yeah. We watched it while we were up in Louisville. Yeah, check that one out. It was they should have changed the name. Instead of being called Jurassic Park Dominion, they should have called it Jurassic Park: The Search for More Cash, because that's all that shit was a cash grab. It was
same shit.
Yeah, same shit. It was trash. So, I'm pretty sure Chris Pratt, it's like, yo, the check cleared, so I'll be there. So
right.
That shit was garbage, man.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of what Jurassic Park has gotten to. Every time you turn it on, it's almost the same type of shit, a little bit of a different story,
right?
But same.
There's
how many
dinosaur?
Right. I was gonna say, what the fucking end is gonna be. What the the plot is. Oh, dinosaurs are running loose and humans are scared.
Yeah. And you know what it reminds me of? Jurassic Park, kind of like the Fast and the Furious movies. Where it's just like each movie is like, oh, more stunts, bigger dinosaurs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Like, and then some of the shit that really like bugs me about it is that like some of the stuff is so unrealistic. Like in one of the scenes, Chris Pratt is in a plane crash. Like this motherfucker doesn't even have a scratch on him. Like, he doesn't even walk with a limp when he gets out of the plane. And I don't mean like, it was like a crash landing. Like the plane crashed. You know what
I mean? I think these movies are just made to see how much better they can get with CGI and shit. Like
Mhm.
that's what it's getting to. And obviously, right, you gotta think of the target audience, and I assume it's a movie, it's not a cartoon. So target audience is a little bit older, but you know, kids, like little kids, 4 or 5 years old, if it was like a cartoon, um, that makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you got adults sitting there and even teenagers, like, what the fuck?
So yeah, but yeah, that's all I've been watching is that stuff, man. What
Nice.
about you?
I've been all over the place trying to find something um to catch me, to make me want to watch some shit. And I really want to get to Succession, but the problem is my like, that's one of them shows that I told you I started. I'm probably 3 or 4 episodes in, but I know it's one of those shows that I want to like and I'm gonna like, and but I want to pay attention to it. So I don't want to fall asleep and then have to restart a episode, or be like, "Ah, I'm not restarting," and then go to the next episode and miss 20 minutes of something important. So I'm
Yeah.
waiting until I get like some days off or some shit where I can sit and binge at least, you know, a good 5 or 6 or first season type of thing, and then go from there so I can be clear as to everything that's going on. But you know, one thing I can tell you is super overrated and trash is Stranger Things.
I've
I
never
don't
watched
know.
it.
I don't know if you
I
watch
only
it.
hear good things, but I've never watched it.
Everybody has this fucking hard on for Stranger Things, you know, every time it pops up, and it's so great and it's nostalgic and it reminds me of this and that, and dude, I'm like 5 episodes in, and as I'm watching, right, episode one, I start texting people that are like, "Yo, you gotta watch episode one." Hey, when does this start to get good? Like, you know, like episode two, yo, I gave it 2 episodes. We good? Like, is it gonna start? Is it gonna start up? Three, hey, 3 episodes in now. Hey, I'm on episode four, and after every time I'm texting people, everyone's just like, "Oh, keep watching. It builds."
Yeah, I get it.
I don't want to watch a show that builds and then I only get one good episode at the end. Like that's a waste of time. Like,
Right.
you talking about, if a season, however long it is, if it's 10 episodes, let's say at an hour pop, or even 45 minutes, whatever that is, right? You're talking about 9 hours of my life wasted away, you know, 9 days, because I watch 1 or 2 episodes a day of my TV watching time wasted so that I can watch this one good episode. You know what I'm saying? And really, because the first 5, 6, 7 episodes might have been trash, you know, that buildup may not sit with me. It may not be clear in my mind. Now I'm watching this in episode 9 and 10, and I don't even know what the fuck took place because I wasn't engaged on the other ones. So I'm not
Yeah.
into that shit, man. And Stranger Things, I think, is just super overrated. Everyone I see is like, "Oh, you gotta watch it. It's great. It's amazing." New season came out. They're like, "Oh, I just finished the first half, and then 5 more episodes are coming out in a couple days. I can't wait." And I'm like, dude, when does it get good? Like, do I need to watch the full first season? Does it change like the next season? Every episode's good or what? Like, I'm not. It's not for me. It's overrated as fuck. Sorry, Stranger
Yeah.
Things is trash. And I don't see the nostalgic part. I'm 5 episodes in and I don't see nothing nostalgic about it at all. Maybe the way they
Mm.
dress. That's about it. It's not like they got retro video games. It's not like, you know what's more nostalgic? The Wonder Years. The new Wonder Years with the you know, the black version of the Wonder Years that they put out.
Yeah.
Way more nostalgic than the first 5 episodes I saw on Stranger Things. So that's my rant. Stranger Things is trash. And stop wasting my time for people that tell me to watch it.
But I told you with Succession, man, you gotta it's a drama, like suspense and drama. That's it. So you
Right.
got to be there for like the show, you know, for the acting and stuff like that. Like there's no nudity, you know, none of that kind of shit like that. Where you know, like no car chases and shit like you know. So you got to
I'm cool with
literally
that.
be there for the drama, you know. But it's a good show. I love it, man.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I don't mind doing that. I started the show on Netflix, and I think it's only 9 episodes, maybe, or 8 episodes. You might have seen it. It's called God's Favorite Idiot, with Melissa McCarthy is in it.
I've
Um
seen that. I haven't watched it. I've seen like the thumbnail.
I'm 2 episodes from completing the season right now. It's pretty funny. I mean, it had like, she's funny to me. She's got some dry humor and shit. Basically the concept is it's actually her and her, I think this is her husband in real life, plays opposite her, and he gets like struck by lightning or some shit like early, it seems like early on in the first episode, as soon as you get in there. And he's been chosen basically to spread the word of God, like, so but it's a comedy, it's more of a comedy than anything, so it's pretty good, it's funny. I got two more episodes, and I want to see how it ends to determine just how good it is, but it's not bad. Definitely okay to watch. I started a show called Welcome to Eden on Netflix, and I only watched one episode, and it seems like it's going to be good, so I look forward to getting further into that. I'll report back. The Floor is Lava put their second episode or second season out. That's also on Netflix. One of those guilty pleasures that you don't really tell anybody that you're watching. Like when you don't want to pay attention to something, you don't want to have to think, but you put something on. That's one of them shows. I'll put that on just to laugh, type of shit.
Gotcha.
So I've been doing that one too. I did also start. I fell asleep on it, but Snoop has on Netflix. He's got his little comedian thing. It's like the Night of Comedians or some shit, where he has like Cat Williams and all of those guys up there. And it started out pretty good. I got to get back to it, but I fell asleep on it. Cat Williams started it out. He was like the first comedian, and it was pretty funny. Like his set was pretty funny. So, but it's some big name people in there. Like I think it's Cat Williams, D. Ray. I think Mike Epps is there. Like, so I'll definitely be watching that, finishing that, and The Man from Toronto. I want to watch that. That's the one with Woody Harrelson.
There you go.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson. I always do that, and I don't want to call him the guy that's slept with his stepdaughter. So Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart, which I saw some good reviews on it. But Kevin Hart's just weird to me. Like I can't see him in serious roles.
Yeah.
It's like I try, like the one with Cranston, your guy Cranston.
Oh yeah, I liked him in that.
I thought he did good there, but it was just felt kind of at times it felt forced.
Yeah.
And maybe he wasn't forcing it. It just might have felt that way because we're not used to seeing him in those kind of roles. We usually see him just funny. So
yeah.
But yeah, and then I watched the NBA draft. So the Orlando Magic, they did what the Magic do. They never stick to the script when they have the number one pick, right? They went with they ended up doing Chris Webber years ago, which turned into Shaq. So they did some great Shaq and Penny, which that worked out, right? That was a good thing. Then the Magic did. Everyone thought they were going to take Mecca Okafor, and they took Dwight Howard, which that also worked out because Okafor, was just absolute trash. And there's another one that I'm forgetting in between. There's another first round pick, number one pick we had, but I completely forgot. Anyway, this year they took Paulo Banchero, who is a forward, over Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren, which were the other two favorites at number one. And I felt like Jabari Smith would have been a good pick for them. I would have preferred Holmgren, the center, because I think he's going to be a good. He's really lanky and skinny right now, but I think if he bulks up and with some development, I think he's going to be he's going to be really good. But I think he's probably 3 years away from getting there. Jabari, I think, is maybe a year. It would have been a year away. Maybe even could have, could have a great year this year. Maybe be rookie of the year. He ended up with Rockets, and then Banchero, I think, is he's good. He's got a solid build to him and stuff, and I think he'll be all right. But they have a lot of young guys, right? And I think the Magic, they need to make a move. They have to get some type of really, really strong veteran in there because they got lots of good young talent. Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, also played with I want to say it was Chet Holmgren in high school. But they got Jalen Hurts. They got the two European guys, white dudes who are pretty good. I forget their names, but I think the Magic have some potential, but they need some presence from an OG to come in there.
Yeah.
And not like the guy that's like who was the power forward on the Heat this year that we always say has all the effort but none of the results.
You talking about
Sneakerhead. PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker.
Yeah. They don't need that. They need someone who's good, who's a veteran. You know what I'm saying? Like someone who can tell him, or even like an Iguodala. Like Iguodala played a huge part in that. Other than that, I mean, at the draft level, I didn't follow too much after that. I just kind of wanted to see what they did. Saw a lot of memes about the Knicks sucking. I know you don't watch the NBA draft.
No, I actually watch some. I typically don't watch, man, but I was just checking like on ESPN to see what was up with it, and then the Heat were like 2 or 3 picks away, so I stayed tuned in until the Heat picked. But it was like funny watching. I told y'all in the chat the reason I don't watch is because all the trades. It's like, how do you get excited for a guy like, oh shit, we got so and so, and then like 10 minutes later, like your team's traded this dude to Detroit, and you're like, wait, what the fuck?
Right.
So I don't. That's usually why I don't watch the NBA draft. I don't even see how the players get excited. Like it's great that you got drafted, but it's like you put this hat on and you like imagine like you get drafted to, let's just say, the Heat, for example, or the Lakers or something like oh shit, I'm going to South Beach, I'm going to LA. Oh man, it's about to be popping. I'm about to be a millionaire in South Beach. Hell no, you know, they ain't gonna be, they can't see me. And then it's like, 10 minutes later, you get the text from your agent, like, hey man, actually get that ticket for Detroit. You're like, what the
right. all your draft day pictures have like the Heat on it, the Lakers, like all your pictures got that, but you ain't never played a day with them.
Right, you done change your Twitter bio and shit. Like South Beach, Heat fans, where the good food spots at and shit like that. And it's like,
it's even worse if you get drafted to a good team. That's like, you know what I'm saying? Like imagine you get drafted to like Golden State. They just won a chip, and they're favorites, of course, to do great things. And then you end up getting traded off to like Detroit or some shit.
Right. So that shit is terrible, man. Like, so that's why I usually don't watch it. But yeah, I saw the Heat. They picked that guy, Jovic. I don't. His name is almost like Nikola Jovic or something. I don't know. Yeah, they
another
picked
a Serbian guy. He's from Serbia. Supposed to be pretty good though. I mean, he's 6'11". He's a forward. They're saying that he's got a lot of shooting ability, which it seems like as I was watching the draft, they how they do in between. They're like, oh, this person is the best on the board, or this is who was picked, and this is what their strengths are and their abilities. It seems like every single person they show their shooter ability now, no matter what position they are, no matter whether you know what I mean, what size they are. And I have to ask, as I'm watching, I'm like, man, Steph Curry done change the outlook of the talent that people are seeking in the draft, or what they're looking for in a specific individual in the draft. And that brought me to a conversation that I meant to have last week, but with EJ and forgot. Where does Steph Curry land on your list of people? We'll say, I'll ask you for 2: point guard and all time.
Man, it's always tough for me when I go all time, because like I've never watched like I always hear people talk about like Oscar Robertson and guys like that, and I've never seen this dude play. So like I don't know how to rate somebody like an Oscar Robertson, you know what I mean? But when I see like basketball, like aficionados, kind of like the people on TV and shit, they always got him like in the top 10 and stuff like that. You got your main people that are kind of probably never going away. Your Jordans, Kobe's, LeBron's, Tim Duncan's guys, but Oscar Robertson is always there. People like Wilt, it's always there. So that's where it gets tough for me. I'm not sure if Steph is a top 10 guy, but I think he's definitely top 15 as far as point guards. that's tough too, man. Because I don't like. I'm not sure if Steph like greatest shooter all time. I mean, just undeniable,
Hands
right?
down, not even close, right?
But when you talk about a point guard, when you think about the things that point guards should traditionally do, Steph doesn't do a lot of that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you know, with the assist and those kind of things like that. So that part of it is tough for me when you start talking about all time.
I agree. Um, you didn't give numbers. I'll let you continue to think on that while I respond to some of what you're saying. Um, I absolutely agree. And when you talk about all time and you start to talk about those OGs, what makes it challenging for me is like there was no 3-point line for some of them. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But on the flip side, there also wasn't 6'11 guys, and there wasn't the athleticism, and there wasn't, great other teams to play against, at times. When you were the greatest back in the day, there was a 1 and a 2 maybe, or a 1, 2 and a 3, when you talk about Wilt and you talk about the Bill Russell days and shit, right?
Mhm.
And Bill Russell played against the likes of, size wise, right? You got guys that are, 6'1", 6'2", and he's like the first guy that's up there 6'11", 7 feet. It's hard to compete. And those guys back then were not athletic. They didn't
Mhm.
do all of the stuff that you do now. So you should have dominated, and he was absolutely dominant. And I don't want to take anything away from him or anybody else from that age, but I get that argument from people. And then I also get that argument when they say, well, these guys are scoring so much because they're just shooting threes and they're getting fouled, and the game has changed so much, and that's accurate too. So it kind of makes a difficult conversation when you talk all time. And then when you talk about point guard, yeah, when you talk about facilitation, as a facilitator, Steph can get it done, but is he getting it done at that high level where you're like, oh, definitely top point guard? When I
Right.
think about an all-around point guard who facilitated like a motherfucker and did a lot of other stuff, aside from Magic, right? You had Jason Kidd, and he's always left out of those conversations.
Mhm.
Jason Kidd was like Mr. Triple Double, before there was a Mr. Triple Double in Russ Westbrook,
Mhm.
but he would miss those nights by one board, or he would miss it by, 2 points or something crazy, but he always assists and stuff like that. Jason Kidd was always there. And as a facilitator, he was great. He didn't become a scorer until the end of it later in his career. Um, so when you talk about point guard, yeah, it's tough. And then same thing with Magic, right? Magic was the ultimate facilitator. But then when you talk again, now you have asterisks like Magic 6'9". You know what I'm saying? Like you 6'9" with the athleticism and the movements and the mind of a point guard, right? It makes the game different for you. You can see, you can bully people.
Yeah.
Chauncey Billups, 6'5", 6'6", same type of thing. LeBron's 6'9", 6'8". They got him always, but he plays like he's 6'9", 6'10", because he's
Mhm.
bulky and big, and he's got the hops and shit. So it all comes into play. I say that to say, um, I man, Steph Curry. When I think about top tens for me, and I'm you know people can call me what you want. I don't put those super OG guys in there. Just like when I do rap, I don't talk about Rakim and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like when people talk about their rappers, they don't talk about Rakim and Coogee Rap and shit. They talk about them, but not when you're talking about lists, because those are the guys that you just respect. They're the pioneers, And I think Bill
Mhm.
Russell, same thing, pioneer. Kareem, pioneer. So when I talk about all times, I'm talking Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, shit, Tim Duncan, who doesn't get in that list as much as he should because he was just so fundamental, but dude just won. Like dude just won.
Yeah.
Um I think Steph Curry's beyond Larry Bird right now, personally. When you talk about all times and all around what they bring to the game, Steph Curry
I
changed he
don't.
changed the game. So when I think about impact on game, right? Michael Jordan made it playing above the rim something completely different that you had ever seen. Um Allen Iverson brought the handles back. You know, Kobe Bryant was almost like another Jordan. So he didn't have the impact that Jordan had. nor did he have the impact that LeBron had. LeBron has a different impact because there was a period there in between, you'd say Jordan and now, where people wanted to be bulky, people wanted to go to the rim, and people wanted to dominate inside, but not at the center level. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was more LeBron that created that. Now these kids, when kids go to practice or you go out to I drive by the courts out here and I don't see dudes in there working on the footwork or putting their back to the basket and working on fadeaways. You see dudes shooting from half court. Like this is they're practicing now. This is what these kids want to do. They want to shoot. And that's where I say Steph has impacted the game significantly. I don't know, man. It's hard, yo. It's hard because this guy has 4 rings, 6 tries, 3. He's got 3 guys that have constantly been there, but 3 different types of teams, 3 different teams. The team before KD, the team with KD, and now the team after KD. Like it's hard to deny that he belongs in a conversation somewhere, but it's also hard to put him in certain conversations because he's not your traditional great.
Yeah. Like I can agree with most of that. I think when you talk about like the impact guys have on the game, like Steph's definitely made an impact. I mean there is probably no Trae Young without Steph Curry. You know what I mean? And so impact you can't deny it. Shooter can't deny it. But when you start thinking about like if Steph was a shooting guard and we were having this conversation, I think it would be different but he's a point guard, and the other things that point guards have to do, it's not that he doesn't do them, but he doesn't do them at the level of like a Magic, Jason Kidd, like you mentioned, Chauncey Billups, what's your guy out in Utah with Karl Malone,
John Stockton.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
The numbers in the body of work aren't just there to support it, and I think that's what makes it hard because Steph has all these things on the resume for finals, league MVP, finals MVP, and all those things like that. And then when you say, okay, what the assist number look like, you're like, oh.
Right.
So I think that kind of stuff hurts him some when you start talking about like these all-time lists. Is he an all-time player? Absolutely. Is he a top 10 guy? Him being a point guard is what doesn't sell it for me because it's not the other stuff isn't there when you talk about things like I think LeBron has more assists than Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, obviously he played longer, you know what I mean? But that kind of shit matters,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. And frankly, Steph Curry has been a defensive liability the bulk of his career. And he's just started kind of being a guy who can be a zone type guy. Like, you see Golden State play the zone and he can rotate now a lot better. But if they ever had to play man defense, he's a liability. So yeah, there's that, but he grabs boards too. So I mean, he's just a different player. He's an unorthodox player. He's changing the game, and he's got people wearing Under Armour sneakers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for you to be able to take that company, not Adidas, not Reebok, you know what I'm saying, and be able to compete with the likes of some LeBrons or some Kobe's or some, not so much Jordans, because there's really not many people besides LeBron kind of, and now Kobe, unfortunately, because he passed, his sneakers are getting, but when you talk about from a company standpoint, he went with Under Armour, right? And like, people don't wear Under Armour sneakers. Like, I think Steph Curry's Under Armour sneakers, aside from people training and going to the gym, those are probably the only sneakers that people are like watching for. Like, oh, I need to get a pair of these to be stylish,
Yeah.
And he's done it. So he's had impact. He's fair for the most part, stayed out of news. Nothing negative. I don't know. I maybe we have to think about it more and come back to it. Maybe we'll do a top 10 or top 20 list before football season starts. Each of us, and see how we compare and where we have them. But I tell you what, man, that Golden State team, if they stay together, young Jordan Poole, which from what I'm hearing, Sacramento offered a lot for him. A lot of teams are calling for him. And Kaminga, they got some young guys over there that are pretty damn good. So that Golden State team is going to be something to be reckoned with, but they might have to deal with LeBron Kyrie part 2 potentially. There's a lot of there's a lot of chirping out there, and
I don't see it happening. I think Kyrie is going to play in Brooklyn, and it just like if you think about it, like one financially, it just doesn't make sense. The Lakers have no money. They only can offer him a mid-level exception, which is a $6 million contract. If he opts into his Brooklyn contract, it's 37 point something million. You know what I mean? Like nobody's gonna leave. I mean, Kyrie's an unorthodox guy, so I don't know, but I just can't see somebody leaving $31 million on the table. You know, like that.
Brooklyn would have to have treated him extremely shitty, and I really don't think they did.
Right.
Through this whole pandemic, the whole COVID shit that he did, all of that, his mental health that he claimed, let me take that back, because we do that with people with mental health. His mental health that he went through, the challenges, they did not, abandon him. There was really no nasty, dirty talk about him. It was like, hey, when he's ready, he's ready. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to believe that he's gonna fucking be like, yo, fuck Brooklyn. Plus,
right.
Go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say even if like let's say the Lakers like, yo, look, we only got the $6 million this year, but next year we're good. We can pay you. You're a guy who's been injury prone. So who's to say, that regardless of, the stuff that Kyrie's done, in regards to his mental health or saying I'm not going to take the vaccine, etc. Who's to say he does that and then goes out there and gets hurt? And then next year, when it's time for contract, they're like, yeah, I don't know. We can't give you that kind of money, man. You got some problems with the knees or whatever the problem is, So right. I can't personally see, and again, it's me, regular, guy, I know he's made tens of millions, if not over $100 million already. And so that 30 million may not seem like that big of a sacrifice for him. I don't know. But the way I'm looking at it is like, you're talking about $31 million, like to leave that on the table to go to LA and just play for $6 or $37 million versus $6 million. That shit just don't make sense to me.
Yeah. And you also have to think about, if I'm him, I'm thinking, all right, LA, it's attractive with the, the LeBron and the AD, but AD's always hurt. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm LeBron, I don't know that I want unless he knows something we don't, which it seems like it, because he's like, he wouldn't mind, rekindling, but I don't know that I want. I'm OG, LeBron's OG. I don't know that I want to have to be out there 42 minutes a game because AD's hurt and now Kyrie's hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and we don't have a bench because we don't have any money. We don't have any draft picks. Like, so now I have to continue to do this at this high level, pushing 40 years old, trying to kind of really just stay in long enough to play with my son. Like, that's all he really wants to do. And I think after that, LeBron is probably done. I want to kind of focus on my business, my business endeavors, my post-basketball career type shit. And still just be able to kind of come out here and give the 30 minutes, the 28 minutes and have some young guys, right? So from a LeBron standpoint, I don't know that it makes great sense for him. And then also from a Kyrie standpoint, LeBron is old. You know what I'm saying? LeBron is old and AD is hurt. And I have a KD here. And while Simmons has always been hurt or whatever, right? Which really has only been that year. These are two younger guys. Simmons is super young, and KD is just younger than LeBron, and still kind of can be in his peak of his career, the prime of his career, if he continues to play at a high level. So, I don't know that I see that happening. I agree with you, but it'd be interesting if it did. It'd be interesting. There's a lot of changes happening. I want to see where Rudy Gobert is going to land. I think that's going to make a difference in where we are with the NBA because he's a big time player. There was also talks of San Antonio trading Dejounte Murray over to Atlanta, which would give them a crazy backcourt with him and Trae Young. Like that shit would be nuts. So it'll be interesting to continue to watch this NBA offseason and see where things land, where people go.
Yeah, and I think that whole like Kyrie thing, real quick on that is just I think he's trying to back Brooklyn into a corner to give him like basically, you know, threatening to leave. You know, I'll leave. You know, fuck it. But you either give me the contract or I'm gonna bounce. But he don't want to go nowhere. I think he wants to play in Brooklyn. He's trying to force their hand. But for them, you can't give Kyrie a max deal. That's the problem, is that he's put himself in a situation to where teams can't pay him. It don't matter where he go. I mean, the Lakers don't have a problem throwing away $6 million. That's not that much money when we talk about NBA players, right? But Kyrie's eligible for a 5-year, $250 million max. Nobody is paying him that. Nobody. Right. You know, and looking at the shit that you've done, it's like, oh, we can't rely on you. You're injury prone, first of all, and teams can look past that. I mean, shit, Zion's gonna get paid, and this motherfucker's only played like 6 games in the last 3 years. I'm exaggerating, but you get the point.
Yeah.
You know, but with Kyrie, it's not just like we got to worry about you getting injured. We got to worry about you just saying, "Yeah, I ain't feeling it today."
Right. My chakra's off. So
exactly, my chakra's off. Like, man, I had a tarot reading this morning, and definitely can't play basketball tonight.
Right.
Stars aren't aligning. You
know? Yeah. But we saw that he's still great in the playoffs. Like he's still, you know, he looked like a guy. But the other part too is if he could be the guy to bring a ring or part of a team that brings a ring to New York, I mean, it's not the Knicks, but New York, it's still New York. Like you go down in history for that, like in the city of New York, you know. So it's just it's New York is one of them cities. And you know, when they're winning, but on the flip side of it, if they're not, they're not.
Yeah.
You know,
and I keep seeing like these talking heads on ESPN. Let me tell you why Miami makes sense on his list. And I'm like, it ain't gonna happen, dog. Like I know you guys hate when I say it, but like, you think Pat Riley's gonna deal with that shit from Kyrie?
Right. Yeah, that and also you're putting two alphas, extreme alphas when you talk about him and Jimmy Butler. And I don't think that can work. No, I don't think that can work.
I don't see it working at all. You know,
if Miami could get Gobert without getting rid of Bam, like and of course Hero, if they could keep those two and get them, which I don't see it, but that'd be great. They'd have to give up like Duncan Robinson and
I'm fine with that.
Couple other pieces, but if that could happen, and you could keep Jimmy, Hero, if your core could have Jimmy, Tyler, Hero, Bam, and Gobert, that makes a world of a difference. World of, like, because that's where you guys, and it didn't happen this year, but that's where you guys are going to have challenges in the coming years with Antetokounmpo and I can't remember his name, Sixers, Joel Embiid. Yeah, those, like, the size is going to be a challenge for you guys because Bam is kind of small. So with Gobert there, he can grab boards, and like that could be something. I don't know that it happened. I haven't seen anything on it, but it's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I get to get a tweet out to Pat, make it happen. All right, we had some fun. Hour 2, let's get into some seriousness. Let's talk about the state of the world as we stand. There's a lot going on. I'll get off the quick stuff. Most importantly, at the top of the list, still no movement on student loans. We're waiting on that. Joe Biden took a spill last week and he's okay, so that's good to see. But and I'm sure there's more. There's going to be more, but I think most importantly right now, seriously, is obviously the Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court. I'm going to let you go ahead and kind of talk about that and what that means, because I don't think people truly know what it means.
Yeah, man. This week, in the country period is a. I think this week will be one of those weeks that like historians look back on and it's like, man, all that happened in the same week, because this week you had a bunch of news that came out of that January 6th committee. They had two separate hearings, talking about things that Trump did to try to subvert democracy on this past Tuesday, and then this past Thursday. Then on Thursday, out of the Supreme Court as well, they overturned a New York gun law, a law that's been on the books on concealed carry over 100 years. They overturned that law. And then on Friday, they reversed Roe v. Wade as well as Casey, which was the biggest news of all of that. And so essentially, what happened is in a 5-4 decision, there was actually two things that happened in that case. The first was the case at issue was this case called Dobbs versus Mississippi, which was Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban. The court ruled 5-4 there to overturn, or excuse me, they ruled 6-3 there to basically say that Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban was fine. And then they also overturned the Roe v. Wade precedent as well as Casey on a 5-4 vote. So it basically gets rid of abortion rights for saying they're constitutionally protected. They sent the issue back to the state. You had a number of states that have trigger laws on the books, meaning that they passed laws in the past that says if the Supreme Court ever overrules Roe v. Wade, this law comes into effect. Some of them were immediate, like Arkansas and Missouri, for example. Others are like a 30-day trigger. Others, it has a trigger, but the state attorney general has to like basically write an opinion saying that based on my reading of this ruling, they've overturned Roe, and so now this trigger law goes into effect. So basically, you got a bunch of laws that either have come on the books or are coming on the books that are basically going to outlaw abortion and essentially half the states across the country. And then in other news that came out of that Roe decision was Clarence Thomas. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote a concurring opinion that no other justice joined, but he put it out there saying that he thinks that the court in the future needs to review other substantive due process cases. And then he gave examples of Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. So they're not done, and just to kind of tell you what those are, Griswold is a contraception case, Griswold versus Connecticut. That case basically, when states used to outlaw contraception, the court basically says states can't do that. People have a right to contraception if they want it. Tom is saying, no, we need to look at that. We might need to get rid of that and allow states to outlaw contraception again. Lawrence is Lawrence v. Texas. This is a case from the early 2000s. It's basically it's a gay rights case, but it's not just gay rights. It essentially involves sex and specifically sodomy laws. Basically they were outlawing like essentially gay sex, but even if it was heterosexual couples, it could outlaw things like oral sex or heterosexual couples that engage in anal sex and that kind of shit like that. You know what I mean?
And niggas is eating ass nowadays. So
so the court got rid of that, and I think it was like in 2003 they got rid of that law. And then the other one, Obergefell, that's the case from like 2012, 2013 timeframe that legalized gay marriage. And so they're essentially saying, we're coming for all of these rights at some point. But the main opinion that overturned Roe, they was like, oh no, we're not going to touch this other stuff. And Thomas is like, nah, yeah, we want to send us cases. We'll see what happens. And they may do it like they did Roe, where for years they were just nibbling on the edges. And then now they finally finished the meal. And they may take those other rights and do the same thing. And what you can see happen is, you're gonna have some pharmacist who says, well, I don't want to give out this a prescription for plan B or something like that because it violates my rights on how I feel about abortion. And then that case works its way through the courts, and then they say, oh, we'll put a religious exemption on this thing, and then we'll put this kind of exemption and that kind of exemption, and then 10 years from now it's gone. And then boom, that's how you get rid of contraception. And then same thing with the sodomy laws with Lawrence. Maybe you have a gay couple staying at a hotel, and some maid is like, I don't want to refresh the towels in there because there could have been some gay sex happening, and then a lawsuit happens and they start nibbling at Lawrence, and then with gay marriage, some county clerk doesn't want to give out a marriage certificate or something like that. So this is how we get to places like this. But but that's basically what happened. And there's one last thing real quick, just to kind of explain what Thomas is talking about when he talks about substantive due process. That's basically like a term in constitutional law, and it essentially applies to fundamental rights that aren't enumerated, meaning like they're not written down in the Constitution. So like if the government it's things that are just like so like duh, like the government can't pass a law that says, hey, when you get a haircut, you got to get a part on the right side. And people are like, you can't make people do that, and it's
right.
It's like something we don't need to write down. We just understand that this is something the government can't do, and that's where Roe and Lawrence and Obert, contraception and gay marriage and stuff. People like the government don't have a role here to say whether or not people can use condoms when they have sex. You know what I mean? But they did at some point, and Thomas is saying we need to go look at those things.
Do you think leading up to these decisions, do you think this is partially why they were granted security?
Yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, after the opinion leaked out, and the final opinion is very, very similar to the one that leaked. It's very small changes, but after that leaked out, people started protesting at the justice's house, and so they basically gave them extra security. So I think that's why they did it. I mean, they already had security to begin with, but I think only the justices had security. I think the new spending added more security, but then also allowed their spouse, like family members, to get security as well. So yeah, so I think that's why they did it, was just because the opinion leaked out, so we knew this was happening, but it didn't make the blow land any softer just because we knew that this shit was coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting because now, right, where the Supreme Court is, the numbers and stuff, right? It's just about, if they band together, it's almost like nothing will not pass that that they're considering. The right side, and so would you say that I see a lot of, and I think you've even said it, but I think it's important, and maybe you can probably explain this better or touch on it better, but I think it's important to note that when people are voting for presidents and stuff like that, to think beyond the immediate, right? Because you talked about it with I think it was Clinton. You've talked about it now with Biden, and then when you also think back to Trump, these Supreme Court justices that were appointed and placed on, put in place, these are lasting impacts that they'll have versus that immediate first year or 2 years or 4 years of, or even 8 years, right, of your your gas prices and shit like that. And
Right.
I laugh because I told somebody, I said, listen, y'all are outraged right now, you are the same people that are extremely outraged right now by what took place with Roe v. Wade. But just last week or the week before, you were open about give us Trump back because your gas prices are high. And I think your focus has been in the wrong place. And you've missed, what the true impacts of a Trump presidency was. So I'll let you expound.
No, you're absolutely right. And what people have to understand, like when you vote for a president, right? When that person comes to town in DC on January 20th, they take the oath, etc. They, along with about 4,000 other people, show up, right? All those people don't work at the White House; they work throughout government. There's about 3,500, 4,000 positions that the president appoints, right? Now, most of these people you never hear about because you only hear about the Secretary of Defense or sometimes like the number 2 person at whether it's at Treasury or wherever. You know what I mean? But there are literally almost 4,000 positions that are presidentially appointed, and that's who they're bringing to town. That's just the people who are going to be there while they're there, right? But then you also have to think about the judges, right? And when you look at a president, take George H.W. Bush, for example, right? Poppy Bush, 41. Bush served, Bush served 4 years as president, one-term president, 4 years. But you know what else Bush did? Bush appointed Clarence Thomas to the court in 1991. Clarence Thomas has had more impact on Americans' lives than George Bush ever did. In the 4 years that he served president, whatever policy that he got signed into law or whatever, Clarence Thomas has had more impact on people's lives than George Bush ever could imagine. George Bush died like 3 years ago or something like that. You know what I mean? And people are still living with the impact of his choice of putting Clarence Thomas on the court. And that's the kind of thing that people have to realize. When you vote for a president, you're not voting for somebody to be your fucking roommate. You're not voting for somebody who you want to go have lunch with or some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
You vote on policy. And the thing that you mentioned about gas prices, inflation and stuff like that, this is stuff that happens in economic cycles, right? Those things come and go. It's just Biden's had the unfortunate pleasure of being president during one of these shitty economic cycles or whatever, so that for people to say, man, maybe we should get Trump back because gas prices are high or whatever. Trump had no impact on gas prices the same way Biden doesn't have an impact, but people don't think that way. They think in the here and now. This thing is happening, so the person in charge is to blame. They need to go, and they're not thinking about other impacts to their lives, And now we live in a post-Roe America where states are banning abortion. A lot of these states are banning abortion with no exceptions. In I want to say it was Alabama or it might be Louisiana. I can't remember which one. They have an abortion ban. It's Louisiana, actually. They have an abortion ban that doesn't even have an exception for life of the mother. Most people used to just do like rape, incest, life of the mother. Arkansas, the one they just put on the books, that was a trigger law. Only exception is life of the mother. No rape, no incest, etc. But people are like, oh, well, fuck, my gas was $20 higher, so this guy got to go or whatever. But the guy who's in there is not going to appoint people to the courts who are going to take away your reproductive freedoms and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's insane, man.
And then that's, we always talk about religion being dangerous, and I read something which I'm looking for now, where you talk about Christianity or whatever, right? Catholicism, but I read something and it said in the here it is. Jewish law requires an abortion if the fetus is threatening the mother's life. Right? That's religious freedom. But in America, religious freedom only in America only ever applies to the white Christian masses. So you're talking about this is, this is all part of religion, and you're doing what's right, and blah blah blah. What about the other religions?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's where it gets dangerous, because people, everybody is thinking, oh well, it's for God, it's for God, it's for God. Well, your God, that's for your God, but other people serve someone else, or they believe in something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get into it, there's always something underlying where you're just being extremely biased in some way, whether it's culturally, whether it's religious, whether, whatever that looks like, or just blatant ignorance. And that's what it seems like, right? When you're talking about 70% of the country feels like, Roe v. Wade should not have been overturned, no matter what side they're on, right versus left, you know um and it still happens. It's similar to the election, right? and
Mm-hmm.
and, and the electoral votes, you know what I'm saying, like with Trump and Hillary. It just it's just so crazy to me that we still live in these times and days where we don't change processes that were put in place hundreds of years ago. You know what I mean? Whatever that looks like. Unless it fits a specific narrative. In this case, this is one of them.
Yeah, and what you're talking about with that the Jewish thing, part of the reason why that's coming up is that there's actually a case in Florida involving that, where I don't know if it's a person suing or an institution or something like that, but somebody's suing to challenge Florida's abortion law on those grounds from Judaism, basically saying Jewish law basically, requires an abortion or whatever. And so that's working its way through the court. So, we'll see what happens in the next, couple of years once that, has a final decision on it. But I'm pretty sure when it gets to the Supreme Court, they're gonna say, nah, nothing to see here,
Mm-hmm.
because they kind of pick and choose, the things that they think are fundamental rights, or, based on history and stuff. Like even in the opinion, Alito writes the opinion and says that there's no history of abortion in this country, right? And that's just not true. That is a bold-faced lie. You know, people used to have abortions in this country all the time, and it was mostly white women, because black women weren't allowed to have abortions because it was considered a property rights issue during slavery and shit like that, right? Which that's just, I mean, to even have to say that out loud just sounds insane. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But and women were allowed to have abortions up into what was called the quickening, right? And what the quickening was the first sign of like fetal movement, when they can like feel the baby like moving and stuff like that. Once you got to the quickening, or you can feel a baby moving, that's essentially when you couldn't have an abortion anymore. And then you fast forward, and some states outlawed abortion or whatever, and that's how we ended up getting to Roe or whatever. But it's not like people that started having abortions in 1970s or something like that. Like, that's complete bullshit. Abortion is something that's been around like since the 1600s, and probably even longer than that,
Mm-hmm.
but they make it seem like it's this new phenomenon that just kind of came out of nowhere. um so yeah, I mean, it's just. And then when you talk about religion, man, I agree. I always say religion is dangerous. It's dangerous. And, I don't care what religion people practice. I'm not a person of faith. I don't believe in um, religion or any higher being or anything like that. I believe in science, you know. Um, and with that said, though, you have a right to practice your religion, worship
Mm-hmm.
whatever God you want to, believe whatever it is that you want to believe. You don't have the right to make me believe the stuff that you believe, though. You know what I mean? And if your religion says you shouldn't have an abortion, then don't have one. Like, is that like Roe didn't make people have abortions. It gave them a choice. If you get pregnant and you decide you don't want to have a child, you don't want to expand your family, or whatever, you have a choice. And now the state is saying, no, if you get pregnant, you have to have a child. Will we give you any kind of maternal health care? No. Will we give you any kind of help after the kid is born? No. Will we give you maternal leave? No. Health care? No. But you still got to have that baby.
When
You
does
know,
when does when does contraception health insurance start to kick in?
you know, who knows?
Right? Like this
Because it
is
ain't.
right. These are the things that people like you don't think about, and it's going to get expensive, for
Not just
not
that, Steve. Let me give you a real world example. My wife, when our son was born, developed a heart condition as a result of the pregnancy. She has something that's called postpartum cardiomyopathy. So the as a result of the pregnancy, it made her heart extremely weak. Right? She's had multiple surgeries for this thing. She takes medication for it and shit like that. Right? Who's gonna pay for that for a woman that develops a condition like that? That's cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in care. Now, luckily, we've had insurance that whole time, right? But who is going to pay for that for a woman that's forced to have a baby that they don't want?
Mhm.
Who's going to pay for that care that they need when they develop some type of postpartum medical condition? And these are the things, like when people say, "Oh, well, you don't have to have an abortion; you can just adopt." You know, it ain't that easy to just be like, "Oh, well, fuck it, I'll just carry the baby to term and then give it away."
Right.
It's not as simple as that. People have other things that happen as a result of pregnancy.
Right.
Some women still die in childbirth, as sad as it is. You know what I mean? Maternal mortality is a big problem, especially in the United States, especially among women of color in the United States. So now we're gonna force women to have kids that they potentially don't want, and then not give them proper health care to make sure they survive, or to make sure they're taken care of after they have a baby that you force them to have. It's completely fucked up, man. It's completely fucked up. If women can figure out a way in the next 5 to 10 years to make their fucking uterus shoot bullets, they will get more fucking protection than they get now.
Yeah. And then you think, so there's that. But abortions are still going to happen, right?
Right.
Even if they're outlawed in 50 states. If you outlaw, and then, shout out to Newsom, California said it's still going to be, but let's just say, right? Somehow 50 states done and gone and done, right? Now who's going to pay for the treatment that's needed, or the care that's needed, after someone goes out and gets an underground abortion, and now they have some type of other, failure to their body, some type of health condition that pops up. So, it's gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen safely. It's just
Yeah.
like, just like drugs, right? You legalize weed or you don't. If you don't legalize it, fine. People are gonna smoke. They're gonna find a way to get it. They're gonna find a way to get high.
Claire McCaskill gave a great example. Claire McCaskill's a former senator from Missouri, and she gave an example from her own personal life, where her daughter a couple of months ago had a miscarriage, and she was talking about how under Missouri has a trigger law. So under the law that became effective on Friday, if her daughter had that miscarriage, yesterday, basically, right? The Missouri would have been well within its rights for the local prosecutor wherever she lived to start an investigation. How did you lose? You were pregnant. You're not pregnant anymore. How did you lose that baby? Did you really have a miscarriage, or did you have an abortion? And they could have searched her phone and talked to her doctor and looked at her medical records. Let's take a look at your prescriptions and things like that to see what happened here, and then make a decision on whether or not we want to charge this woman for having a miscarriage, right? Here's the next step, right? Take it a step further. When women have miscarriages, the way that doctors treat miscarriages are pretty similar to how they handle abortion. They usually give them that pill, the pill that you can take for an abortion, because sometimes the body doesn't um trying to use some correct words here. I don't want to. Sometimes their body doesn't like get rid of the fetus. Like it stays
Right.
inside. You know what I mean? And in those cases, now does the doctor say, "Man, I don't know if I want to give them this medication because the state may come and say I performed an abortion that I can end up in prison." So they let the woman have that fetus inside of them that's dead at this point. Then the woman goes into sepsis from an infection and shit. You see, like this shit has all kind of ramifications that aren't gonna be good for women. And
Right.
I think people need to wake the fuck up, and people like Susan Collins and Joe Manchin, who were shocked that when they met with these Trump appointed justices, when they were going through confirmation hearings, and they told me that they believed that this was precedent and nothing was going to happen. I can't believe this. And it's like, if you didn't see this was going to happen, you had your hand in the sand, and you had your head in the sand purposefully. There was a willful blindness. You know what I mean? Because this is I don't understand how you didn't see that happen coming. So
I, for one, am not a supporter of abortion in any way, but I do understand the reason for it at times and the need for it at times, and I do support women's choices to do that, to have an abortion, right? So it's a personal thing, right? I don't support it, and that's in my personal life. And to your point, right? You don't support abortion, don't have one. Right? Simple, very simple. There's a lot that it gets sticky, right? It can get really sticky. I don't know, man. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know, and I don't mean as you and I mean we as a country, and I don't mean just around this. I mean in general. Like, each day I wake up and I just feel like there's something else to divide America up, to divide Americans up, and make people hate each other and dislike each other and find reasons to not be able to coexist with one another. And it doesn't seem like it's letting up. It seems like it's continuing.
Mm-hmm.
You see all these people with these creative memes and stuff where they post, oh well, I can, I'm an adult, so I can have a difference in opinion and still like you and still be your friend. No, not all. There's some things there's some things that we can't have a difference of opinion on, and if we do, then no, we're not friends. Like, I don't want to be your friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not not on no kitty shit, but I just don't want to associate with somebody like that. So
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough, and maybe it's tougher now. We talked about it a little bit in pre-production, but tougher now because everyone has access to it. Maybe there was nasty shit going on behind the scenes. We know there was historically in politics, but there's so much access that we have these days. And I don't know if the government or whomever makes the decision needs to find a way to prevent some of that. Like, maybe everything doesn't need to be out there, every little minuscule detail of everything that's going on for the masses. Maybe it needs to be accessible somewhere, but where someone who might want to know this stuff can go find it. But for it to just be regurgitated and posted online, especially because a lot of it is posted with misinformation, because somebody reads something, they interpret it a specific way, and then they take it and they turn it and they put it out and it's wrong, or they add their spin to it, or you have conspiracy theorists who they see something and then they add their flair to it. Put it somewhere where if you really want to know some of this information, you have to go find it, you have to go get it and monitor and manage it or something like that, because we're getting to a point where it's going to get dangerous. It's going to get really dangerous in this country.
Mm-hmm. And if what I would say is, when you talk about abortion and Roe and all this kind of stuff that's happening in the States, women out there, if they got those fucking like those period tracking apps, they'll delete that shit from your phone, because you are living in a dream world if you think that these motherfuckers won't use your phone apps tracking your period as evidence against you, at some future trial, that you were pregnant and you're no longer pregnant. So you know what I mean? So if I was a chick, I would definitely stop using those shits, because it's going to be coming to a prosecutor near you.
Yeah, I see a lot of enraged. I see a lot of enraged individuals out there. A lot of enraged individuals who were not on a specific side of other situations that have taken place in the recent years, and it's interesting to see how they how they take the blatant mistreatment of women. Well, okay, what about, and I'm not saying one is worse than the other or better than the other, and it doesn't make one more valid versus the other, but what about the blatant mistreatment of black people? What about the blatant mistreatment of black men? What about the blatant mistreatment of just citizens by police officers? Like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Don't gotta be black, doesn't matter. Citizens. You got kids getting killed. Kids in Another kid got killed in Chicago, or I'm sorry, paralyzed in Chicago. So much so that they've made a law now in Chicago. They found it a reason to make a law in Chicago where cops can't engage someone that's just running. Like, if
Hmm.
they run from the cops, they can't engage them. They can't chase them because this kid. There was a video. I think he was 14 years old. I think he was 14, maybe 13. He was a young kid. He's running from the cops. He stops to turn around. They're like, "Hey, stop!" Like they always do. He stops to turn around by a gas station. Gas station catches on tape. They shoot him. He had no gun, had no weapon. He's paralyzed now, right? In the midst of it, there's traffic passing, right? And I think so they drag him. You can see on the video they drag him to a darker area, right? But in the midst of it, there's an accident, and I guess it sounded like some type of commotion. And the cops that were there kind of moved out of the way so that they wouldn't be harmed or injured in
Mhm.
whatever was going on in the car accident or whatever. And they left the kid there for a moment and then returned to him. So, like, these are the type of things that you don't see problems here and you don't see the rage there, but you see the problems elsewhere, right? And it's, right is right, wrong is wrong. And I guess it's in the eyes of the beholder, right? When you talk about what's important, but you know, we're in a really really interesting place, and I find it's funny watching, not funny, I'm sorry, it's interesting watching what some people feel is important, and more important than others, and what their morals are surrounded built upon.
A- and I think what happens there, and it's something I've tried to explain to EJ multiple times, and I'm pretty sure he gets this. I think he acts like he doesn't to fuck with me, but when we talk about like the parties, for example, right? And I think this is this is what's kind of been a problem for Democrats, is that their party is more of a coalition, where it's people who care about a bunch of different individual issues come together and get behind a certain candidate, like a Biden, Hillary, whatever, right? And you got people who their top issue is environmental issues. Somebody else, it might be racial justice, police reform, abortion, guns, whatever, right? Whereas on the Republican sides, it's like, yeah, guns, no abortion, and tax cuts. That's what we all want, right? And so we're all going to get together and vote for the person with the R next to their name. Whereas, people on our side of things are like, oh, this person said this thing 20 years ago, so I can't vote for them. Or this person is not as strong on this one specific issue, but that happens to be the issue that I care about, so I can't fuck with them. It's they don't take the whole 80-20 rule. You know what I mean? Like, there's 80% of the shit that's really good and 20% that is not for me, but the 80 outweighs the 20, so I'm gonna rock with it. And that's why there's this old, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you've heard it before. I may have said it on the podcast or in the chat or something like that. But there's this old political saying that says that Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. You know,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how we get to these kinds of things like that, where it's like now people are outraged about abortion to the point that you were making about the kid in Chicago, right? And when you say, well, where's all this, for cops, shooting innocent bystanders and shit like that. And it's not there because all this person cares about is this one issue, whatever this issue is that's important to them, and everything else they don't give a shit about because it doesn't impact them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talk about that all the time. Talk about it all the time, and it's how weak the Democrats are. And I think the Republicans, they go hard in the paint for whatever they're focused on. They're laser focused on something, and right or wrong, right or wrong on their take on it, their stance on it, or what have you, they go for it. And they know that by getting that one thing, right, that one thing, they're gonna maintain it, because it's a big thing for the group that supports them. Guns, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna maintain their support, their supporters, right? And to your point, Democrats, oh, we got a victory over here, yeah, but that's not a victory that everybody is concerned with. Example, student loans, right? To me, it's something, and it's something to me, but it's not something to me. Like, it's not gonna make or break me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, my life doesn't end from it. But it's something to me. It makes, it plays a part for me. But for someone else, it doesn't. And for others, you got, whatever it is that someone might care about. We'll just say gay marriage, right? That is something for somebody, right? That might be a huge win. That's a huge win. Gay rights, gay marriage, huge win actually for a very large population and group of people that potentially support support Democrats. But it's not, to me, it's not, and to others, it may not be. So I am, and you are, and a lot of other people we know, and there's a good portion of Democratic supporters that are intelligent enough to know that either way, whether you got your one issue addressed or not, this is probably still the right choice,
Mm-hmm.
versus the others. But there's a lot that are not, that absolutely are not. and
Right.
and versus, they may not flip and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna vote Republican, but they just won't vote. Or they're
Right.
gonna do that dumb shit like they did with Hillary. Oh, well, I can't now, the emails and the lies. You know what, let me write in The Rock. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Or some dumb shit. And you get 20, 30, 50,000 people that do that, and now you change the country. You change the trajectory of the country
Mm-hmm.
forever. Like, the time that it's going to take to undo all of the history and stuff and we can't even undo it, that took place just in that 4 years while Trump was president. It wasn't worth being a little upset about somebody, you know, making up a story, or potentially lying, or whatever that looks
Mm-hmm.
like to you. You know,
Yeah,
just
and you're absolutely right, man. And the like the student loan thing, we talk online and offline about this shit. And people probably listen to the podcast know I don't care about this issue, the student loan things. You know what I mean? But at the same time, as much as I don't care about it, one, it doesn't affect me. I don't have student loans, right? But I'm able to look at the bigger picture and see how it impacts other people to say, yeah, I think this is a good policy. How much should Joe do? During the campaign, he promised 10 grand. So if he did that, promise made, promise kept. However, I'm looking at this shit from pure partisan politics. And I'm just like, yo, if you're gonna do it, go all the way.
Mhm.
Show people what you do with power to make them say, let's give this guy more power. You know, so that's how I look at it, right? An issue that doesn't impact me, but I'm able to see the benefit of it just from how to help people financially, right? And the fact that it can also help politically, but a lot of people don't do that. They're like, oh, I mean, I ain't got no student loans, so nah, you shouldn't do that shit. Nobody helped me pay my student loans off. You know what I mean? So, but people get into that whole bag, like the shit don't affect me. It's like it doesn't exist, or I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna fight for it or whatever. And it's just like with religion, right? I'm not religious. I don't believe in any religion. I think that shit is. I mean, you might, in my opinion, you're better off believing in fucking, or not better off. You're just as well might as well believe in magic, the tooth fairy or whatever. Those require the same belief system as religion, in my opinion, right? But I'll fight for you to have your right to practice your religion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the difference, is that it's not just the fact that this thing doesn't affect me or I don't believe in it or whatever, so therefore it doesn't exist or people shouldn't have access to it, right? You have the right to practice your religion, but I don't think that anybody has the right to make you practice their religion.
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
shit. We talk about like when we talk about things happening with kids, whether it's trans kids, gay kids, etc. Those kids and their parents need to work that shit out. That shit has nothing to do with me. Now, does the state and its people have some kind of interest in a child's well-being? I definitely think so. How far does that go? I don't know. That's our politicians or our courts, our child psychologists, etc. They can kind of get into that whole bag to see how far we should go. But my overall kind of starting point is that shit is not any of my concern. You know what I mean? As long as the child is not being abused or mistreated and things like that, it's mostly not my concern. You raise your kid the way you want to raise them.
Yep. All right, that's enough of that. I don't, you start to get frustrated when you start to talk about this shit and think about it. When I say you, I mean we. I mean people in general. I don't know if you saw, I don't think you did, the Omarion versus Mario versus.
No.
I'm sure you've seen it all over the internet.
I've seen people saying that Mario killed him.
That's the creativity we have as Black people, memes and fucking making jokes on Instagram. We're not going to use it to do anything better and go get a job and, or start a business or something like that. We're trying.
The two things I've seen from this versus is, one, I've seen people saying that Mario killed him, and people are saying it was like on some ether shit, like some Jada Kiss versus I forgot who they were going against, that one versus Dipset.
Oh, Dipset, yeah. Jada versus Fab also.
And then and then the other thing I've seen is this clip of Ray J singing a cappella while he was holding the baby or something.
Bro. All right. I'm gonna give a quick synopsis. I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown of this of what this versus was, my opinion. So the lead up was Pleasure P. I'm trying to remember. It was Pleasure P and Ray J versus Bobby Valentino and hold on one sec. It was Pleasure P. God damn it. Here it is. Pleasure P and Sammy versus Bobby Valentino and Ray J. And that was just like straight ratchetism. There was some good tracks though. I mean, Bobby Valentino's got tracks. Pleasure P's written some stuff that a lot of people may not have known about. So that all came out.
Mm-hmm.
And they, thing is, it was in LA, right? And Swiss and them, they do a lot of stuff based on Eastern time. So 8 o'clock our time is what, 5 o'clock their time, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? So to have your your big names, which were Omarion and Mario, and say, hey, we want you guys to get started at 5 o'clock, PM, just and hope that people make it and all of that is just not it, right? So they had the undercard, which was Pleasure P and them. Mm-hmm. But rightfully so, these guys are also artists, right? So you got them there at 5 o'clock and you're telling them, hey, we need you off stage in time for us to get Omarion and Mario started 8 o'clock local time, but which is 11 o'clock Eastern time. Right. So now they've been there since 5, but it's only 8 o'clock and these guys are lit. You know what I'm saying? So the night is still starting. They're looking at the clock, their watch. It's 8 o'clock and they're like, oh, we're not leaving. They want to kick us off early and blah, blah, blah. But no, this was part of the, this was the agreement. You're an undercard. You're an opening act. You
Mhm.
know, they're not used to being opening acts, but you are today.
Right.
So that turned into a whole thing, bunch of drunk Ray J's and stuff out there. We ain't leaving and blah blah blah. We're we can out sing those guys, and our verse is better than the one that's coming. Blah blah blah. Whatever. They finally get them off. D-Ray's the host, pretty good. He's funny. Omarion and Mario come out there, right? And leading into it, everybody's like, "Yo, Mario has no chance." You know why? Because Omarion was part of B2K, which was a huge act. Then he had his solo career with a lot of big songs. And Mario, one man crew, always been a one man crew, had some big songs, but not a lot, couple albums, nothing too major. So, you're thinking he's going to get smoked. The odds were in his favor, one, because the audio was fucked up, right? So, because the audio was fucked up, it really became a singing contest versus a talent contest. So Omarion is out there, dancing and shit, right? But as he's dancing, he's singing, and naturally he's winded, and so he just sounded like absolute shit. You know what I'm saying? While Mario was out there and he was performing, but he was singing and walking and moving slow and shit. And his vocals, I mean, he has better vocals in general, but it just sounded better. So people are like, yo, Mario could sing. So his tracks sounded better, right? Omarion has the better music. He has more hits, he has better hits. That is bar none. But the presentation and what that battle became, Mario just was there, and he killed it. Like, he had the showmanship, he had the jokes, he had the one-liners, the quick, witty responses. Omarion he just seemed like a super, super cornball. Like, he was like, yo, you got music, but you a cornball. He's like, I grew up over here in blah, blah, blah area. It's tough out there. But you've been a star since you were 13, 14 years old. So you didn't live that life. Come on. Stop.
Right.
Anyway, so I think that played into it. I think Omarion and his song choice was terrible. And before it started, Mario kind of got in his head and told him, yo, you can't beat me without the B2K stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the rope-a-dope. He got him because he didn't go to the B2K stuff early on. And while he's doing his, his individual stuff, Omarion that is, which is album stuff, and people are like, he didn't come with Icebox because that's one of his bangers he's got to save. When he was thinking he didn't do Icebox. There was a couple others he didn't do because he was saving those for the second half. And Mario came out and was hitting them with bangers right off the pack. Bam, 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 bam. Like radio tracks that people know. So it's like, yo, he's getting stomped. The whole first half, Mario was stomping him. And then I think finally Omarion, somebody was like, yo, dude, you gotta do something. And so then he finally started to get into the B2K bag a little bit. I think he did bump, 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 a couple here and there. And then he started doing some hits. And that second half is when you're like, okay, he's starting to run out of tracks, known tracks. So he's doing his B-sides, right? But audio still fucked up. Voice still sounds better. So, and we as a culture, we don't know how to shift our opinion. Like, we don't. I've never seen a versus where somebody comes out, gets ahead, and then the masses are like, whoa, there we go. This person finally found their stride. You know what I'm saying? Like you would in a basketball game. Yeah, it's a game of runs, right? In basketball, football, right? Boxing. No. Not in verses. Man, he got mopped up the first 5 to 7 tracks. That means the next 13 to 20 tracks, he's either mopped or getting mopped. You know what I'm saying? That's just how we are. So, but for someone who can sit there and see that, you could see Omarion started doing his hits, and his hits are bigger than Mario's hits. Like, if it would have been hit for hit, and it would have been the Mario hit that he played versus an Omarion hit, he would have Omarion should have won that battle, but he just got outdone, man. He got outplayed. It's like, it's like if you go into a fight, right, and somebody's bigger, stronger than you, but you know you're faster than them, you're gonna try
Mhm.
and use your speed. You know, you're gonna
Yeah.
try and hit, and you're gonna move and stuff. So, and I think that's what Mario did. Mario's like, all right, let me get these haymakers off. Let me win the crowd over, which he did. And it was just a nasty night for Mario. Like this dude brought
Man.
out he brought out Tank. That didn't help. Tank sounded like shit. He brought out Jeremiah. Jeremiah sounded like shit. Then he brought his brother who was DJing for him out, and he's like, this for the ladies. And he brings out a fucking quarter of watermelon, and he starts eating the watermelon on stage like he's eating. Yes. So it was bad, yo. It was bad. It was bad, man. Shout out to
Wow.
Mario, man. That dude, he did it. He did it.
And
He
like
understood the assignment.
that's like a choice, because it's not like you said this is for the ladies and just pull some random shit out. Like that was the plan. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because you don't just have watermelon at a versus battle. Like it wasn't just like, yo, go back to the, go back to the dressing room and grab that extra piece of watermelon. Nah, dog, you had it behind the
Like
fucking DJ booth, a
that was a
quarter piece
choice.
of a big ass piece of watermelon. Like,
Wow.
oh yeah. It was that. So, watch the internet. We that's what we
Yeah.
do, man. We gonna play on them, and you'll see the videos. There's been some funny memes and videos that people posted about Omarion, and he he got outdone, man. He lost. He definitely lost that battle. But yeah, it was funny sitting in there, in the chat, just watching people. But what's funny to me, right, also is versus, and they got to get their flowers because it's clearly they got companies pandering, right? So
Yeah.
all these companies have, and this is the last point I have, and then we could probably get up out of here. But a lot of these companies, like as you're in there, and I'm on the Instagram and I'm looking in the chat, right? Wendy's is there. They got their Twitter account. Someone's on the Wendy's account, like, oh, we're gonna make a melon happy hour drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, then you had a Cheesecake Factory pop. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Their account pops in, and then you got fuck, there was a couple more, but you start to see these companies trying to, I guess, pander, if nothing else,
Mhm.
right? Promo, right? They're trying to use the versus chat to promo to us,
Yeah.
right? And the sooner we understand how much power we have as a people, the better off we're gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, think about this versus thing. Kamala popped up, or was it Kamala? No. Was it Kamala? Or was it Michelle Obama?
Might have been Michelle.
I thought it was
I've seen her at previous verses too.
I
Well,
thought it
not
was
seen her,
Kamala.
but like
No,
her.
it was Kamala that did the she wasn't there, but she did the she did a
Like an heart emoji or
little
something.
speech type of thing. No, she did like a little speech thing. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll find which one it was, but yeah, like we like the black vote, the black human, African Americans are so strong in numbers, and the sooner we figure that out, the better off we're gonna be, man. And I don't know that we'll see it in our lifetime. It's unfortunate, but however that gets done, that'll change it'll change America. It will change America. Because dude, I'm telling you, like, everyone, like, not everyone, a lot of companies were in there on their Twitter accounts, messaging, and these are big companies. This isn't
yeah.
like fucking Joe's Crab Shack and shit. You know what I'm saying? This is Wendy's, like the big
Yeah.
Wendy's, Cheesecake Factory. Like, there's a reason they're there, and it's not just because, oh well, this is a good idea. No. They're trying to appeal to a certain demographic.
Right. Like we're hip.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come eat here.
Exactly.
And
We
people like,
support
and you know how people
hip
be
hop.
like, they'll see something like that and be like, "Yo, man, I fuck with Wendy's, dog. They be at the verses." You know?
Exactly. I ain't never seen McDonald's at the verses, yo.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, man. I think that's all I got. You have anything?
I meant to mention it like when we were wrapping up um bingeables, but we kind of turned the corner hard on it, so I didn't get a chance. Westworld starts tonight. The season 4
Oh,
premieres tonight on HBO.
couldn't do it, man. It's another one I just couldn't do. Just slow, man. Fucking robots and shit. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's, and some of these shows that are like this, to me, I don't get to them until years later after the series ends, and then
Mm-hmm.
I can just binge the whole shit. That's how it was with Prison Break. People are like, yo, watch Prison Break, watch Prison Break. Nah, I'm good. I'm good, dog.
Yeah.
But then when I watched it, addicted, watched the whole shit front to back, and it's one of my favorite shows.
Some shows are better like that. Like I like The Wire, and I'm sure I would have liked it if I watched it on TV. But watching all 5 seasons like within 2-3 weeks or whatever it was I did it in, it made it flow better to me. You know what I mean? Because I could kind of see what they were doing, see how things were developing, how they happened, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Versus week to week, and then I got to wait 6 months for the new season, and whatever. You know what I mean? Just watch the whole thing back to back to back, and just kind of see like everything happen or whatever. And so some stuff is like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Westworld is one that I'll probably end up on, but Succession is definitely. I'm gonna get to that. I know it's not done yet, but I'm gonna get to that soon.
Yeah. The problem for you when you watch Westworld, I think, is just that like there's so many spoilers out there, because the show does try to they try to, like pull the wool over your eyes a little bit, and then you get to like, in season 1, there's like 3 big reveals that they do, and like one of them is like one of the dudes who like you're watching, you like, oh shit, he's a robot, because like you
Mhm.
didn't know, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so like when that, like for me, that got spoiled for me only because I was trying to read something on the show and I didn't realize the thing I was reading was like a non-spoiler version. And
Right.
so the spoiler that comes in the season's finale, I already knew that shit was gonna happen before it happened because I read it in an article that I was reading by mistake or whatever. So but so much stuff about the show is out there already. I think that's the part where, and I'm not sure if you follow that kind of stuff where you've seen some of it, but that's kind of, I feel like that part won't impact you as much because it's out there. I remember when I was trying to put you on Game of Thrones, you was like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Then you finally started watching it, and then you got to that one scene where Khal Drogo rips the dude tongue out through his neck,
Oh yeah.
and you text me like, yo, so, you know what I mean? But like with Westworld, like all of that shit is kind of out there already, so it's kind of, it's hard to be surprised by the show when you're going back to watch it.
Yeah, man. It took me a few times to do Game of Thrones. Speaking of Game of Thrones, they announced that there's gonna be a sequel. So there's the one that we already know that's coming, but there's a sequel for Jon Snow's character.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. Cautiously excited.
Right.
Because I just hope that they don't ruin it. Like Jon Snow is Jon Snow. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like that's one of the things you can't do wrong. You could do the Targaryens wrong. You know what I'm saying? You could fuck that up and people will be like, okay. But if you mess up Jon Snow, that's
Yeah.
like if they would have tried to kill Tyrion. You know,
Yeah.
like people were like, yo, if they kill Tyrion, I'm done. Like whole groups of people were like, nah, yo, you kill Tyrion, I'm done. You
Yeah.
know, so you can't mess with Jon Snow, man. Can't do it.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I mean, it's probably like a year off or so, but definitely gonna
Yeah,
catch that.
that's
Definitely
fine.
gonna
Take
watch.
your time. Take your time with it. Make the shit good.
Right. Definitely gonna watch Game of Thrones, even though I'm mad at them. But it's a new production team, so hopefully
They
they
better
get the
fix it.
shit right.
They better fix it.
So
All right, man. Let me hand the reins to you to do what you do and get us up out of here.
all right, folks. We definitely appreciate you guys rocking with us this Sunday morning / afternoon. For those who took the time out to listen live, we definitely appreciate you doing so. For those who listen once the episode's posted, we definitely appreciate that time as well. Since I wasn't here last week, let me also wish both EJ and Steve a happy Father's Day, as well as to the audience out there. Happy belated Father's Day to you as well. For those of you that are fathers out there, and but anyway. like we always been saying, make that phone call, send that text, reach out to somebody, let them know, that you're thinking about them, that you care about them, etc. Also want to take a point of personal privilege here and say to my homeboy James from back home. James is a young 30-something-year-old man who is dealing with a cancer diagnosis in the middle of chemo right now. He's fighting hard, and hope that he continues to do so and get past this, and got you definitely in my thoughts, bro. But yeah, like I said, make that phone call, send that text message. You never know what's going to happen to somebody. Tomorrow's not promised. Where you can find us on all podcasting platforms, just search Castworthy. For our social media, search Castworthy. On Instagram, it's Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, leave us a comment, a like, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, help us grow the audience. Hit that like button. It definitely helps us with the algorithms on the various platforms. It'll help us get the podcast out to more people. And we will see you on the next episode of the Castworthy podcast. Hopefully we can get EJ to join. We got to just get the timing right. If something, I don't know what happened this morning, but we'll figure it out. But we out. We love you. Peace.